Hey there. It's always cool when you do an event and they say, you're going to need a helmet. So, hey, I'm Josh Freeberg. I am a transformational Emcee. I do events all over the country, everything from like a small retreat to a large conference where we do peer-to-peer learning, create connected and collaborative environments where people can share ideas, can share best practices, and have greater sense of connection and community with one another. And I'm at one of the coolest events I've ever gotten to be a part of. It is the Rescue 3 International Conference, and it's the first one they've had since 2018 because of all things pandemic. They couldn't do one. And we spent 3 days together. This is day 3 up here in the mountains above Durango, or the cliff edge above Durango, Colorado. We started our first day with a regional directors meeting and instructor trainer meeting where we looked at a vision for their future. We talked about how to give effective feedback. And it was really cool because those two exercises are some of the skills they use in training people. And we actually got to do some real role play and practice of those skills that they use. But more importantly, one of the things that they've described is how they were able to connect, how they were able to create an environment where they could freely share ideas. And in an industry where they make jokes about it, about what happens when like different people from different departments like don't get along and there's a clash of egos. What's been so great is that in using the tools that we use to create transformational events, we've gotten to this day 3. We're actually out in the field. You can see this a rope rig behind me here, a rescue rig behind me. They're having like right now you've maybe heard this phrase before, this like high clash of ideas where they're saying, I wouldn't do it that way. That's not the right piece of gear. What do you think about this piece of gear instead? What if we changed this? What if we do that? And like high clash of ideas and like zero clash of egos.
So as you can imagine, a pole by itself would fall over, but right now I can't move it, and we haven't even put a load on it. Once we put a load and we get our resultant force on that front monopod, everything gets even tighter.
Yesterday was the big day. So the first day was a couple smaller cohorts, and this is a great way when you're designing a conference. Are there like key leaders or people of influence within the community that maybe want to have an additional like side conversation, rather than doing that at the end, actually do that at the beginning, and do that using learning methodologies, using connection choreographies, using conversational, curated conversations. Those people get to experience it, so that when we're then in the large group, which is like 90 or 100 folks in the large group, when they're a large group, well, you've had, 20 or 30 people who've experienced it ahead of time. This is like a great hack for making a great event, because, well, they've already experienced it. They become your like, super participants, right? They're almost like your inside people, because they're helping you. They understand what you're going for. One of the coolest things, though, that I experienced was an opening that I use all the time. And I know that there's this thing kind of in a conference world of like when you have a speaker, when you have an MC, it's like long bio, here's all your accolades, here's all your bona fides. And then you spend a lot of time like basically trying to create credibility in the room. And I've moved to a model where I do almost none of that. So literally the president of the company just said, hey, we have brought in Josh. He's an XChange certified guide, and he's going to be helping guide and lead our conference this weekend. Welcome, Josh. I say, hey, I'm Josh. I'm an XChange certified guide. You're going to see what that means over the course of the day. Here's my family. And then I do something that just says like, hey, I'm maybe not one of you, but I'm at least, we have something in common. And so I showed some of the outdoor stuff that I do that might be interesting. And I said, well, before we get to anything, I actually wanted to ask you all a question. And I'm going to take you through a conversation right now. in response to this question. And this is a common question that we learn in the exchange approach, and so I used it, which is, why is it important that you choose to be at this conference? Right? They haven't had a conference in 6 years. Why is it important for you to choose to be at this conference? And we give them time to think, reflect on that question, give them maybe different context for that. Why is it important for you? Why is it important for the departments that you serve, for your teams, for your families, for your communities that you do rescue work in? Why is it important for this whole community? After they had a chance to reflect on those questions, we put them into groups of 3 where everybody got to have like a 7-8 minute conversation and really get to know each other around something important like the purpose of the conference. Not just, hey, where are you from and like what's your favorite hobby, but like deep, what are you looking for? Well, what I think this does is it like, I call this like the conference scavenger hunt, is it creates now this opportunity for everybody to find what they're looking for. Oh yeah, why did I come here? Instead of waiting to find out, I wonder what this conference is all about. In fact, one of the things I did is I advised the client when they hired me is I'm like, don't pick a theme for the conference. A theme will emerge. A theme will emerge. And in fact, a big theme did emerge, and it started right out of this first conversation. So they're in this conversation for about 7-8 minutes. And then what we did is we said, hey, what came up for you in that conversation? And invited 7-8 people from within the room to share their ideas. We had mic runners going around. And it's cool because there's this group of people has been around for about 35, 40 years. And there's this like first generation, the kind of old guard who's just amazing at what they do. They've seen technology changes, practice changes, and they've been the like innovators and creators of this stuff all along the way. And they were able to share, and then we have new people, young people who are so excited, so passionate, they're learning new things. They also are grabbing from like different industries and bringing stuff in from sailing and from recreational and from like theater rigging. I mean, it was fascinating to hear them talk about this, and that those groups started collaborating, and immediately we're sharing like how much passion there was, and how this community has a legacy, that first generation is so passionate, and so it's become so important for them to think about like who's the next generation that's going to be taking this on. And that opening conversation allowed that. We immediately moved into something that is called a meta debrief, and in a meta debrief you literally say, what the heck just happened? Like pause, step outside. And Todd Bolsinger, in one of his books, calls this like get up in the balcony and like look down at the floor, see what's happening. What is happening? What just happened in those last 12 minutes? And one of the things that was so amazing is they started sharing like, I have a sense of legacy, I have a sense of passion. These became 2 words that showed up over and over and over again throughout the day. We had people talking about how much connection was created, how much vulnerability was created. In a group that, that some people, and they would self-admit, would tell me like, hey, we're a pretty tough crew, we're pretty, pretty difficult to crack, and yet within the first 12 minutes, they were fully engaged. By the way, that was another word they said, was engaged. And they were so excited to be together. They were so excited to share ideas. And had totally moved from a posture of like, all right, what are we doing here, to I want to be part of this. I want to be engaged in this. So it's a great way to think about your conferences, is how you open them in a way that gets people as quickly as possible into connection and collaboration. And this is one that worked. I mean, it was so, it's one that is so simple. And I'll be honest, like, that I am almost always afraid is not going to work. And I have yet to be proved wrong. So far it's worked, but there's this moment of tension of like, am I really letting go of all control in the first 3 minutes I'm on stage? And in fact, that's what we do, is we move the control off the stage, move away from controlling, and instead come to a place of inviting. And one is that I enter every room and view it as a room of co-teachers and co-learners. Like, my job is to learn as much as the people that are with me. And part of the reason for that too is that I think that all learning is self-discovery. A second principle that I like to view is It's not my job to teach, it's my job to create an environment for learning. Is to create an environment for learning. I like the way that William Butler Yeats said, he said, education is not the filling of a bucket, right? As though our students are all empty buckets and we're just here to fill them. Education is the lighting of a fire, right? The fuel and the oxygen are already there. We, as educators, supply the heat, which allows them to become their own teachers. Because when they leave our classroom environments, right, do they have a passion for learning more? Do they have a passion for continued growth? So here we are. We're on day 3, and the invitation was there to connect, to collaborate. And here we are on the side of a cliff. They have 4 stations set up where they're demonstrating different rescue scenarios and rigging operations. They told me to get a helmet and they tied me into a harness. So we'll see what happens next. But I'm so excited to have been a teeny tiny part of their work in the world. That I got to be just a one drop in this huge ocean of people who are literally going out and saving lives at a massive scale. And they even talk about that. You know, we got 80, 90 people in the room, and yet there are tens of thousands or more lives saved represented in that room because they teach local fire departments, local government agencies, volunteer search and rescue and CERT teams on Hangle rope rescue and swiftwater rescue. And so their ripple effect of their work is so great. And so it's been really fun to spend the last few days with them. Looking forward to future time spent with them and wish them the best in all of their work. And so thankful that they had this opportunity to be together and be their best because of this conference over the last 3 days. So some lessons learned, and don't forget, safety first.